Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the podcast Corner Talks. I have a friend here and talented visual artist, Stefano Bove. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm great, buddy. I'm just gonna say it right off the gate, right out of the gate. I respect your work. I admire it a lot because what you're doing, visual arts, as I mentioned, is an original form of creative expression. And what I mean by that
Sure.
is human beings, before they discovered film, before they discovered photography and music, they were doing visual art. And the fact that you are so good at this craft is highly commendable. And I just want to say I'm really proud of you and what you're doing. But what made you pursue visual arts as opposed to any other art form?
I don't think I realized how much I enjoyed all of the different art forms until I was out of high school and university. It's when I started exploring other types of forms of art, and that's really where I gravitated toward painting mostly, but visual arts itself, the just sitting there and drawing things and putting things on paper and putting things on. I started that at a very young age. I've always been an introverted person. I always, as a kid, I always was in my room, and you know, uh, just thinking of things that you would do as a child, and the imagination that a child had, um, that it's extremely powerful. And I used to really harness that at a really young age. And I just would sit there and I would examine things very differently than a lot of people would. I would look at, this cup that's in front of me, for example, and just think like, why does it look that way? And I would try to mimic it. So at a very young age, I wasn't even really sure what I was doing. I was just looking at things around me and trying to draw them. And it was therapeutic in a way.
Yeah,
I
I
would
would
just sit
agree.
there for hours. My mom would come check up on me. Are you okay? I haven't heard from you for in
Mm,
a while. Yeah, I'm just
right.
drawing. And the same thing. Enough, and I would, like every child, you're sitting there and you're playing with action figures, and you're coming. I
Hmm.
used to come up with these little scenarios with like my Ninja Turtles, and they would cross over with, I'd bring in some Marvel characters, and
Yeah,
you don't know what you're doing at that time, but you're storytelling,
yeah.
right? You're writing stories. I would write these stories where the Ninja Turtles would meet Spider-Man, and I was trying to like mimic what I would see on Saturday morning cartoons.
Exactly.
um
Yeah.
so I've always been interested in the craft of creating, from a really young age. And I didn't really start gravitate like I always gravitated towards the visual arts, but it's really when I went into university that I really enjoyed that in comparison to the others. Not that I didn't enjoy photography, and graphic design, and all different types of sculpture making. I enjoyed all of them. But all of them are very different from each other, and I explored all of them. I didn't want to just say I enjoy doing this, so I'm not going to try anything else. I did. I took as many courses as I could. I majored. I actually took as many graphic design courses as you would be necessary to actually have a minor in, because I enjoy doing it. But I like the balance of being able to not sit at a computer all day, but also work with my hands. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that
Yeah.
answers your question, but
Yeah, no,
that,
that's great to hear, man. And I can highly relate to just that basic inspiration of. I'm sure you've seen my sketches. I call them nostalgic
yeah,
sketches of all the characters I've grew up on, and my childhood. Really, they're a representation of my childhood. And exactly what you said, therapeutic. That was the right word to use because I was going to mention it. When I draw, sometimes I actually assign just one day out of the week to draw, and I spend the
mhm,
whole day drawing, and the mind just clears. I listen to a podcast. I just get lost in the moment. I even get inspired by, if I'm writing a screenplay or a project that I'm developing with another friend in filmmaking. It takes you to another place, and visual arts so far has not brought me to that place. More, I would say, compared to film or editing or any other form of creative expression, it's a very unique um, kind of journey you experience. And I wanted to go back to, you said you went to university, and I remember it was York University, correct?
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right. And a big concern for artists, especially myself with film, and I have a lot of people in the community they discuss, is does it limit your creativity going into an institution? Did you find that experience going into York, or did it amplify it?
Not at all. If anything, I do believe that it amplified my work only because it gave me that studio requirement that I needed at that time in my life. At the time where you are not sure whether you have some everyone you ask, was everyone okay with you going saying you're going to art school? 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a response like, no, my parents, didn't really want it, or friends are like, why are you going into art school? Whatever. You get
Mhm.
all kinds of feedback like that. So if you ever had any doubt in your mind about whether you belong there, once you get there and you're in that studio environment with like-minded individuals, and you're really feeling the art world for the first time, that's extremely important at that age in your life. So I would say, um, not necessarily just going to university is important for being an artist, or college, but being around like-minded individuals that enjoy the same things you do, and being in that studio environment, whether it's a university studio or just like another studio where there's like you're looking around and you're seeing other people creating
Right.
as well. It was extremely important to me, and it really helped me in a lot of ways, being able to walk around the classroom and kind of feel everyone's energy. Everyone's in the zone. And if there were any days where I was having a bad day for whatever reason, things outside of the school, as soon as I got to that studio space, um, everything would go away, because you have music playing, you have people working, uh, people chatting about their work, and you're just kind of deep diving into your subject matter, and you're forgetting about everything else. So for those few hours, you're where you want to be at that point.
You're in the moment, yeah. And
Mhm.
um, I speak to that with regards to being on a film set, so I can relate again, where everything kind of goes away. And I would even suggest or mention that these people probably even challenged you to become a better artist.
Absolutely, absolutely. For the first time, you're getting situations where you're being critiqued on your work. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? Why do you paint this way? My professors and fellow artists and colleagues were not critical to the point where it made me feel like I shouldn't be painting this way. um, Art school is more about um, telling you to ask yourself the question, why are you painting that way, as opposed to you know approaching it from a negative. It's
Right.
approaching it from a positive. You're
Hmm.
supposed to know why you're painting a certain way, or why you want to paint a certain way. And all of my professors were uh, more like facilitators. They would come around and offer advice, or offer, but you didn't necessarily have to um, you know follow what they wanted to do. They wouldn't One of the things that I liked about all my professors, and I still talk to many of them today, is that they would never make you question why you're doing something, if it would hinder your growth.
Hmm.
They as long as you know why you wanted to do something, or you knew what the end result you wanted to come happen, that's the main goal. So I learned something from every one of my professors 10 times over. I enjoyed working with them. They come to you not like a high school teacher would. They come to you like a fellow colleague, a fellow artist, and they're just more there for guidance, which is important.
Yeah, no, it's I like the idea of what you said is it was important for you on your journey, for your progression, your growth as an artist to attend this school. Because, like you said, there's a lot of people that would judge, and 9 out of 10 people, that's an accurate number, would say, why are you going, or why are you wasting your time? But it was necessary for you. And it goes back to what Martin Scorsese said in filmmaking, because he gets it a lot. Should I go to film school to become a filmmaker? And he says, listen, going to film school is not going to make you a filmmaker. Going to film school is going to give you the opportunity to make a film. And what he meant by
Mhm.
that is it challenges you to be a better artist. It associates you,
Yeah.
it surrounds you with people that are like-minded, and hopefully you can create great contacts that can lead to a great project. But that's up to you, right? And I think you could argue the same thing is seeing just how much you've been posting and the partnerships you've been doing, the commissions. The film art school is did not provide any of that. It just gave you the opportunity to build your craft and lead to those things. Which I wanted to
Yeah.
lead, yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next point, though. How did you transform this passion, this hobby, if you will, in the beginning, right? Something you were studying, you're pursuing, into a career.
That's it. It's a difficult question to answer because there's so many answers to that. But basically, I never said no. Is one of the simplest ways to answer that. You know, I started working full time as an artist around the time that social media was really picking up. So it was a very new form of marketing. Um, Before, while I was in high school and university, I we didn't have social media to what it was today.
Hmm.
Instagram was literally just you post a picture and the only feature of it was just a comment on it. You couldn't do anything else. There was no story. There was no, shop online. There was no Facebook Market. There was no, all of TikTok. There wasn't any of this stuff. The only way to promote yourself is what at the time was word of mouth, or a website that you can give someone, or your business card. That's
Right.
really all it was. And um, no different than going walking the old school way of trying to sell your art to a gallery. Was you had to walk up to the gallery with your art and say, do you want it? Do you want to represent
Hmm.
me? That literally was the only way to promote your art, predating the internet.
Right.
um, so I started transitioning into a full-time artist, out of university. Continued working until my artistic practice started picking up a little bit, and that's when I made the decision. I started utilizing social media more. I had at the time only used my social media for a personal. I never really showcased any of my art, so getting comfortable with showcasing myself and my artwork was something that took a long time to kind of get used to. And then that's when I transitioned my social media basically just literally just to work based. I don't do anything on social media that's not work based.
Mm.
um, Social media for me, the mindset of using social media is strictly just a business, and that's it. I'm just on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook to browse at random stuff and comment on politics. I literally just use it just to post. Instagram, same thing. Every conversation I ever have on Instagram, for the most part, unless you're a close knit community of mine, uh, most of the time I'm on Instagram to make business moves, communicate with people, interact with other artists, share their work, communicate with galleries. Now Instagram and social media tools are basically the only form of communication.
Yeah.
People don't really even text or call anymore.
No.
So I've made so many business connections just by being on social media, and I've worked with companies that are all across the planet, and I've never even seen their faces, only
Yeah.
because we social media has brought us together.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a healthy attitude. I like that you said you produce more than you consume, because a lot of people, especially the millennials and the people in their 20s, with this pandemic, a lot of people are going through a lot of mental illness, and it's because they consume social media. They're always comparing with what other people are doing. And
It's
my
true.
biggest advice to them, and I think you would say the same thing, right, is you got to focus on your own path. You got to focus on your own journey, what makes you happy, and post more than you're scrolling through that Instagram feed, because it'll just bring you down. It'll just make you think naturally, why aren't I doing more? And if you are connecting with people, connect with people that are like minded. Like you and I'm always looking forward to when we, throw each other a DM or we congratulate you on a piece of artwork, like the latest one that you posted. That's a healthy way of using social media, as opposed to, like you said, getting into the whole debate of politics and, the right better than the left and vice versa. It's
Yeah.
it's not a way to go about it. Yeah, the social climate, as we see it today, is not really going the way anyone intended. But
Yeah,
speaking
it's a
of
pretty
social,
aggressive world out there on social media.
yeah, I have you. I guess because we're on that subject now, have you noticed? I guess coming up, like as an artist, were there any setbacks? Anyone was nasty, or any challenges you've gone through as an artist?
Uh no. No, I've never had any major challenges like that, where any like major setbacks in terms of, people, you know, throwing negativity my way. I've always had I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of positivity around my art from a very young age.
Right.
Fellow, in elementary school, high school, everyone saw me as the artist. So when you're saying you want to try to pursue being an artist, I never really got anything in terms of backlash. Everyone's just like, oh, that makes sense,
What
right?
about your art? What about your artworks though? Have anyone? Because I know that's what a lot of artists suffer with, is that vulnerability. And if they do face that pushback of, oh, this isn't great, or take it down, they're not understanding that the other person has never probably achieved anything in their life, and they're just attacking you because they're in a very dark place. Did you ever feel that? Did you ever encounter those things?
No, I've never ever felt that. I've actually only felt that once. Funny enough, it was a university project.
Mm,
It was a piece I did in university where the I was painting very dark in university,
okay.
very dark subject matter. But for myself, whether subconsciously it was, um, the unknown, that was making me paint dark. But I also was very interested in outer space, and I always have been.
Hmm.
So deep space exploration has always been something that I've explored on in painting, whether it's painting planets or abstract galaxies. But visually, they're very dark. There's
Hmm.
just some color popping here and there, but mostly black because it's outer space. How do you
Of
paint outer
course.
space and not paint black?
Right. Exactly.
So I can see how visually, only some of the subject matter that I was painting came off as positive. Most
Hmm.
people, when they think about outer space, it makes them feel very existential. They don't really get happy vibes from outer space, and it's because most people fear the unknown. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really make people happy. But I don't know. It made me feel happy at the time.
Yeah.
So and still does. And it's more of that, again, that therapy of painting something repetitive. And
Hmm.
I also like looking at like typography, is it elevated geography maps, and seeing like land mass and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's how
Topography. Yeah.
I started
Hmm.
painting like planets, right?
Right.
um, but so there's one particular piece in university that I did was it was a paint the future cities, paint future cities. So me being in a very, what you would consider, a negative mindset, painting very dark subject matter. At the time I was also watching a History Channel documentary about how things would erode if people just suddenly disappeared.
Right.
And it would show how, like, how a building would collapse over the point of like 20, 30, 40,
Was
50
Life
years.
After People? Is this Life
Life
After?
After People,
Yeah. Oh, I
that's the
love
one.
that
Yeah.
show. There you go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I
Yeah.
was watching Life After People, and I painted, when I thought of future cities at the time, I thought, well, if we decided, I was thinking like long term. I'm like, this is a city, and I,
Mhm.
I painted a city that was in
Yeah.
ruin because we had left. We're no longer here.
Of
I said,
course.
I don't know where we went, and people were getting upset with me in class during the critique
Wow.
because they they thought it was terrible of me to think that for whatever reason we wouldn't be here anymore. I'm like, well, we've never been here forever, and we won't be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, we haven't been here since the beginning of Earth's history. So what makes you think that we'll be here at the end?
Don't talk to Elon Musk.
So, and I said to her, yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I replied to these people by saying, these fellow students, I'm not saying that we're even going to be dead. You know, let's say we're on another planet, or
Mhm.
we've just left Earth. I'm not saying we're dead, but this particular city is. So that was the first time in my artistic practice that I encountered um, backlash from a piece. And obviously at first you're gonna, kind of be taken back by it, because you're now being pressured to answer in a positive way,
Mhm.
um, from people who are not agreeing with you. And my professor Radic, he just kind of sat back and was doing one of these, and he's like, I just wanted to see how you would respond. You need that in your
Mhm.
life. And
Mhm.
Radic is one of those professors that I still talk to today, because he was such an aggressive
Mhm.
teacher, and he wanted you to learn all for your own. He's just like, you're learning, I'll sit back and watch you learn. So I respect him for that. But yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was really
think
the time that I've ever gotten angry.
yeah, that's great, man. I really believe that there's a huge significance in forcing the artist to justify their works, and it relates back
Totally.
to again film, where with regards to writing, I say it in one of these vlogs that I do on Corner Talks. I was talking about writing, and you have to justify every scene or every action or every motive you give a character. Uh, Things that they wear, things that why they smile a certain way. Because if you can answer those questions, you're making the story cohesive. And when you make the story cohesive, the audience will not ask so many questions that lead to I don't want to watch this anymore because nothing's making sense.
Yeah,
And I enjoy
absolutely.
your professor for doing that because it's important and it's made you a better artist, I'm sure. And going through those setbacks, I think a lot of artists, especially me when I was starting out, I was very defensive of my work, and there are times when I'm guilty of it. I can be defensive because I'm a firm believer, and I still am. Don't just say it's crap. Give me a reason. If you just say it's
Mhm.
crap, I won't listen to you. If you give me an intelligible answer, then I can work with it, right? Because everyone's going to have
Yeah,
an opinion, right? But the ones that say, like your professor, I don't know, maybe he gives you a critique, like, I don't like the use of blue. And you're like, okay. And then he just stops, like, yeah, I just don't like the use of blue. And it's like, okay, but how can I take that piece of advice? But if he elaborates and says, feel like the blue takes away from this element of the painting and, gives poor symbolism, then you start to say, okay, I'm not going to change it, but I start to see where you're coming from and you respect the critic even more. And I think that's what a lot of people are going through is they're not differentiating between people that are hecklers, like this is crap, take it down, to the people that are giving you a genuine critique. Because everyone in art knows that you're allowed to critique works. It's part of why we're in the industry. However,
absolutely.
I really do believe that it should be done like in your the way Professor what was his name? I was going to say Riddick,
Radic.
Raddick. I was thinking about Chronicles of Riddick. Professor Raddick.
His full name was Radislav Kudlinski.
Yeah, that's pretty
Great man.
badass name. Yeah, it's pretty
It is a
badass
badass
name.
name.
Yeah, but yeah, amazing that you had that mentor. And that's another thing I wanted to add too. Is it's very important to have a mentor as an artist, and you were fortunate
Mhm.
enough to have him like guide you, and I'm sure he still guides you in your works today. You still send him
Yeah,
works or gives
we
you feedback.
communicate every once in a while. We actually just before the pandemic, so like in 2019, we
Oh,
got
okay,
together for coffee.
nice. That's
Yeah.
great. So going back to social media, I've noticed you have an impressive following on Instagram, and I wanted to know how did you grow such an audience and bring exposure to your brand?
So that was mainly, what I mentioned earlier with the constant interaction. You have to, like anything, you have to see social media as a tool, and you ask yourself, well, how do you use this tool? So what features are on the app that, on the platform that, the app is wanting you to use. So
Mhm.
you almost have to know the ins and outs of the platform. No different than, I'm building a website. Well, now if I want people to see it's literally just critiquing the platform itself and
Right.
figuring out all the ins and outs. If I want to build a website, but if you don't do SEOs, and connect it to the web. It's just a dead website there, and you have to market it, you have to promote it, you have to make sure people can see it. Otherwise, yeah, you great, you built a website, but can people find it? Is it
Create
available?
the
Are
traffic.
you marketing it? What's
hmm
the traffic like?
hmm
So those are all questions that you got to ask yourself when you're using any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're using.
Right.
Um, how do you utilize this platform to the best of your ability? And I've been using Instagram for years now, so every time they introduce a new type of feature, I kind of utilize it. And I've connected with so many people. I interact with people from all over the world. Sharing is a huge feature. People sharing your work is the biggest form of
Yep.
public exposure that you can get. And it's basically the word. It's the new modern day word of mouth.
hmm
I purchased this from this person and it looks fantastic, and I want everyone on my social media to see this is who
hmm
he is. And that's massive. So being fortunate enough to have sold works all over the place, ship internationally, I have that exposure from people all over. And if you don't ask, you will never receive anything. And I
It's
would
true.
say, I would say very high, very close to that 9 out of 10 yet again. If I never, slid into anyone's DMs
DMs
first,
as a
I would never get one back, or I would never have gotten that message. But if I said, "Hey, you want to collaborate on something? What do you think?" Yeah, sure. Let's. What do you have in mind? Okay, I want to do this. That would never have happened. I would say 9 out of 10 of all of my connections, or giveaway partnerships, or whatever it is that help promote the page and gravitate new clients to the page, would never have happened if I didn't take the first shot. So
yeah. No,
definitely,
that's
definitely
very
got to put
important.
yourself out there, and
hmm
don't be afraid to reach out to people. And and I do it on my first reviews page as well. And I'd be straight up, I'm extremely aggressive.
hmm
I'm not even shy about it.
Right.
um you know i I tag big actors and actresses and directors and everyone in my reviews. I don't care. But
Yeah.
and I get so many of them replying back with, "Thank you for reviewing my movie,"
hmm
setting up interviews with people. And it's only because I'm not shy about it. um the And it's partly because the what we just spoke about, the constructive criticism. If I'm going to give a movie an average rating,
hmm
am I worried that the person is going to see it? You have to ask yourself, did you give the movie your justification for that review? With giving it probably a lower than average review. That's the question you have to ask. And if you justified it in writing, why you gave that review, that movie, that particular review, then you did your job. If you just gave slap a terrible review on there, and then that's on you for not doing your homework, or not taking the time.
Yeah.
I Sometimes I'll even watch a movie a second time, if I didn't enjoy it, just because I'm like, why didn't I enjoy it?
Yeah.
I ask myself, why didn't I enjoy the movie? There's got to be a few reasons, and then I'll kind of deep dive before I trash a movie. I know I jumped into first reviews there, but it's just more about the social media, like being
Yeah.
aggressive about it, and not being shy about interacting with people.
No, that's great. And I've seen, again, I've seen the growth, and I'm glad you mentioned first reviews because it exploded in the last year, with the following and the exposure it's received, and rightfully so. It's a place where I go to hear reviews on movies and what you guys are talking about. And I even suggested, having a conversation. Always love talking about people, about movies in the industry, and where their mind's at with certain movies. Like you said, watching a film a second time, it can change. You want to see why you didn't like it. For me, sometimes you might even like it even more because you gave it a bad rap in the beginning.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like Solo, a Star Wars story. I know you're a big Star Wars fan. I watched it again and I didn't mind it. It was really good on the second viewing. And that's something I enjoy. But I feel like, let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's fair. Everyone's gonna have people just don't like things because they just don't like it. Like a buddy
Mhm.
of mine thought Django Unchained was cheesy, and I'm like, are you kidding me? But that's his opinion, and he didn't give me a you know what I mean, elaborate Roger Ebert
Yeah.
review. But I'm not gonna get angry at him for it. But I like the people that, again, if I was the filmmaker, if I was Tarantino, not that he probably would care. He said it was cheesy, but if I was that filmmaker and someone close to me or someone that I do value their opinion were to say it, I would like to know, okay, well, what makes it cheesy, and go into depth, because it's not for egotistical reasons. It's actually to help me improve because I
Mhm.
want to see if I can learn something from that critique. And
Absolutely.
it's all about, yeah, it's all about becoming better, the best version of who you are as an artist and as an individual. So,
Agreed.
is there a certain piece of art that you what I mean is, I know so I've noticed you've done planets, you've done hockey players, you've done movies. One of my favorites is the Goodfellas, the iconic shot
Nice.
with
Yeah.
all four
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, that was really well done. Um, is there one that's your favorite to do? Do you enjoy painting hockey players or the planets?
Um, s- so I have a broad range of interests, and going back to when you asked me um, about how I started off, and I said I just never said no. That's really how I managed to broaden my horizon and start painting things that I normally probably wouldn't paint because I was worried that it wouldn't come out well or whatever. But saying yes to a project and being essentially forced to do it because I am telling the person I will have it done by a certain date, um,
Right.
is putting you on the spot and really um, testing your ability to adapt to situations. So over the years, I've managed to really adapt to different things, and I do enjoy personally painting landscapes. I have a background in landscape art. That's where I actually started painting. Um, when I was in university, landscapes were some of the very first things that I started doing. Um, with watercolor, I started painting watercolor first before I started doing acrylic.
Hmm.
I live next to the McMichael Art Gallery, so growing up seeing the Group of Seven work is obviously is definitely a reason why I started painting landscapes
Of course.
for sure. And then going to college, university, going to Sheridan, painting, being forced, put on the spot. You have to draw a nude person for 3 hours today. All right, this is the class, and and I love Sheridan for that because that's where I learned all of my anatomy skills. Every Monday I would paint 3 hours of nude figures in different poses, and then on Fridays it was 3 hours of nude sketching. So 6 hours a week I was drawing nude people, um, and that definitely helped my build my skills on how to paint figures and paint anatomy and draw anatomy. So you know, being put in situations where you have no choice but to learn how to do something is the best way to learn. Um, I'm being hypocritical because I can't swim and I was always told jump in the deep end, but the one time I did, I almost drowned.
Oh,
Uh, is
yeah.
the wrong approach,
Right,
but
right, right. It
definitely
applies to most aspects.
some, yes,
Yeah.
some. It
Yeah,
should
so
have worked, but it didn't. Um, but yeah, putting myself in a situation where I said yes, so I have to do this,
mhm,
made me learn. So drawing people for the first time, someone coming up to me and saying, can you draw my family? Yeah, no problem, I'll do that. Can you paint this landscape? Yeah, I'll do that. Can you paint this hockey player? Yeah, I'll do that. basically just not never saying no, taking every project that came my way, and it kind of turned me into this like chameleon
Yeah.
in a way,
Adaptable.
because I even adaptable. Yeah, I
Hmm.
even have people coming to me and saying like, I found this like painting online. I can't seem to find the artist. It's just a Google image, but it also doesn't like I would change a few things, and
Right.
I totally take it in a new direction. So I have those types of people. I have people that just want me to like replicate work and change some colors around.
Nice.
Um, so really, I am very adaptable. I am, and uh, in a way, I feel like I'm creating work that we artists are supposed to. Artists are supposed to. I don't make work for myself. I make
Right.
work for you. I'm not standing behind 20 paintings as there were. I cleaned the wall up, but
Right. Right.
yeah, like I'm not creating work to put them in my closet and have a backlog of paintings. And the whole point of if I'm going to turn this into a career, then
Mhm.
I have to sell. I have to sell work. I can't not sell work. So
Yeah.
um, not getting attached to paintings is important, because there are a lot of artists that would get attached to them. I love this so much I can't sell it. No, everything has a price. If you want this to be your career, you have no choice but to sell or put a price on everything, or have the intention of selling it before it's even done. Um,
Right.
and what else? Yeah, so that's really it. Just constantly wanting to sell work and putting myself out there.
Yeah.
It's extremely important, and I've never ever been attached to one. To answer the question, I've never
Right.
been attached to just one subject matter. I like changing things up, just because it kind of keeps me on my toes, keeps things fresh. I'm always working in a different way.
I think that's very important. Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that as well. A big thing to take away from that is not saying no. A lot of artists, like you said, might get attached. Like, no, like for me, speaking from experience, when I wanted to become, a filmmaker, I said, oh, I just want to write and direct feature films. And with that mindset, I wasn't going anywhere. I needed to start from the bottom, and I branched off into videography and photography. So that applies to really anyone pursuing the arts, is the ability to say yes and be open to any projects. And that's why I see such an array, a variety in your work. It's not, I see a lot of pieces of artworks where they're very dark, they're very gothic. There's like skulls or just a certain kind of palette, which is fine. That's their niche. But with you, you get a sense of, even though you're doing commissions, I should add, I noticed that it's still an expression of who you are. Like when I see your page, because I know you, which gives some background. You used to be my manager at my first retail job, Toys R
It's
Us.
true. Yeah,
So we had a lot of conversations about that, and I knew you when I see your artworks. I'm like, yeah, it would make sense why he's doing planets. It would make sense why he's hockey players, movies, right? First reviews, why he started that. It all makes sense. And as much as you think you're doing it for other people, it's also an extension of who you are. And I think that's why people are gravitated to you, because you're also
of
being
course.
genuine about your intentions, right? That this is what I want to create. This is who I am. And a lot of people, and that's, I think, for any artist to hear, is because it's that dilemma. Like, how do I go viral, or how do I get a notice, or just get some sort of attention? And I think it really comes down to being yourself, being your authentic self, and people will reach out to you in your case, right? And say, hey, can you do a portrait of my family? Or can you do this favorite hockey player of mine? Because they see that you also have those passions, or if they know you, you have those shared interests. One thing that I would suggest, because you keep speaking of landscapes, have you ever considered the Star Wars world? Like landscapes like Naboo and
N- Uh,
just
no,
Mustafar.
surprisingly no. I've never actually.
Those would be, I mentioned it because I know you can pull it off.
Yeah,
And I was thinking of landscapes and just taking it to another level. Again, that's your decision, but wow, that would be spectacular.
a friend of mine actually did mention a while back, because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan as well.
Yes.
Um, he had mentioned that I should paint like Middle Earth, like the Shire, and
Hmm.
and I've just never gone around to it.
Right.
But definitely something would be
Yeah,
cool to do.
definitely put it. Yeah, it's I feel like it'd be so be a work of art, literally. No, yeah, no pun intended. But it would be really really nice to see. So keep us updated on that. But before we go, I just want to say
For sure.
what motivates you to do this stuff? Like what motivates you to be in the arts? Because I know you have your rough days, I know you have bad days, but what makes you wake up in the morning and say, I'm an artist and I'm gonna do whatever it takes?
You know what? I get motivation and inspiration for a lot of things. You know, at the end of the day, uh, people getting just people being happy and excited, and you know, seeing the work, and you know, me doing a painting and showing my client the painting, and you know, seeing people's excitement. That, you know, the thank you, the wow, the this looks incredible, that there, seeing people's faces and knowing that that is going to be in their life, you know, on their wall for a long time. Or even like, you know, most recently with my custom hats, when I, you know, when I get pictures of people like wearing them out, like it just makes me happy that that my art is being utilized for what the original intention of it is. um and I am just a big fan of a lot of things. You know, I'm you would think that I'm just like all over the place, but I enjoy life. I enjoy everyone doing their thing. And that's why, you know, I have so many things going on, like, you know, first reviews. Just I love filmmaking from a different perspective. Um, from the perspective that it's how do they do this? How do they make this? I enjoy knowing that they took the time, thousands of hours to put this thing together. I'm going to watch it and enjoy it, or try to enjoy it, or understand what they're putting out. Same with music. You know, I will, you know, this artist put this out. Let me give it a listen. You know, and every art form. You know, I mean, I play video games. I read comic books.
Hmm.
You know, I consume a lot of content, and I have interests all across the board. And you know, that's kind of really describes my artistic practice in a nutshell. You know, outer space. You know, I'm interested in like retro cartoons. You know, from when I grew up, and I paint all of that stuff. You know, uh, comic book characters. So I do take a lot of inspiration from things that I enjoy, like even sports. You know, just everything really. And I know there are tons of all of these little, there's communities for all of these different interests, shared interests, and I'm part of so many of them, little niche markets, and we have so many conversations, right? So
Hmm.
that's, I get my inspiration from a lot of people. And you know, social media brings these communities together, right? Like even just within the film community world, you know, on first reviews, I just interact with a lot of people. I put out reviews, and we talk about them, and I enjoy hearing what other people have to say about it, you know. And then on my page, you know, I have people coming to my art page and telling me what they think about my work, or asking me for a commission, or whatever the case is. It's just enjoying the conversation of being an artist in this world.
Yeah, it's I want to mention, if you truly respect art, you'll realize that there's no such thing as a bad piece of art, and that there's something to always take away from it. There's something to always be inspired by. And I like that you said you dive into the whole filmmaking process and you see, okay, this film, let me see like how much work they put into it and what makes it bad, or why don't I like what don't I like about it. And there's a lot of films that people might say, oh, it's trash or don't bother watching it, but I still pick up elements about it that inspire me for my piece of storytelling, right?
Of
Like Man
course,
of Steel,
yeah.
a lot of people, will condemn it and say, oh, it's a bad representation of Superman. But I like that gritty approach, and I see what Zack Snyder's attempting. And I also, we see it now. Watch the biggest bandwagon happen with Justice League on HBO Max, because everyone's hyping it up on Instagram. I really hope it does well. and people see what Zack Snyder originally intended for the DC universe. But like back to Man of Steel, seeing that scene where he contemplates killing someone for the sake of saving humanity, and then he screams like in despair. That's a scene that always sticks to me. The movie might be forgettable for me for whatever reason, because maybe I didn't buy into it so much. But that scene, I enjoyed that scene a lot because I actually felt the humanity of Superman, of a character that was notoriously not supposed to be human and supposed
Yeah.
to be the beacon of superiority. So it's a great conversation, like always, Stefano. I always appreciate talking to you about your craft, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really proud of all the things you've done, and I'm looking forward to a lot of the stuff you've created. Please check out Stefano on Instagram, Stefano Bove Art, and a lot of the great stuff. I plan to have more conversations like these, whether it's movies, like you said, video games, all that stuff for our listeners to hear, and I'm sure they can benefit from a lot of our conversations.
Absolutely. I enjoyed the conversation, then.
All right.
We'll talk
Take
soon.
care. Yeah, we'll talk very soon. All right. Everybody take care and have
Take
a
care.
good time. Talk soon. Bye.